Dank. Hey, Stephen, how's it going?
Hi there. It's going really well.
Love the background.
Thank you.
Yes, that vibrant red is something else, isn't it?
It's like I'm in Mordor.
All right, just to start out, Stephen, are you all right to tell the viewers a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a documentary filmmaker and investigative journalist. And the last 3 years, the bulk of my work has been into UFOs and UAP, investigating the phenomena. And I host a video series for the New York Post called The Basement Office on YouTube.
All right, so you are able to dispel the UF story that people have been hearing for years.
Right. So my recent report is basically the UFO story that we've been told for the last 4+ years is wrong. And so just so for your viewers to catch them up, the original story broke in the front page of the New York Times in December 2017, and it announced that the Pentagon had a UFO program called ATIP, and the director of this program was a man named Lou Elizondo. And they looked into UFOs and decided they were real, and it's happening, right? Now, that's not true. The media ran with that story for years. The actual program, and I dug up the documents for this, the actual program was a program called OSAP, and it got $22 million from Senator Harry Reid to investigate not just UFOs, but werewolves, poltergeists, goblins, a whole bunch of crazy stuff. A lot of their investigations took place at Skinwalker Ranch, which is this infamous location in Utah that is supposedly the most haunted place on planet Earth. That's the program, the real program. Now, what happened is that the Pentagon was embarrassed about this when they found out what the money was being spent on. And some of the folks in the program were embarrassed about this. So they took the UFO parts of the program, rebranded it, and went to the New York Times and said, hey, we had this UFO program. And it wasn't a UFO program. It was everything under the sun. And Lou Elizondo, the face of the whole story, he had basically no role in the official program whatsoever. So the guy who they said was the director of this program wasn't. It was this other guy named James Lakatsky. And so basically we've been told a spun yarn of a story the last 4.5 years.
What got you interested in this?
Well, again, I think everyone got interested in this in December 2017. You don't get much higher than the New York Times when it comes to American media, newspapers. And there on the front page was the New York Times talking about UFOs and this Pentagon program. And I think everyone got interested in it. For me, particularly, it was a matter of diving deep into it and figuring out like what's going on now. Why is the Pentagon and the Navy and the military releasing these videos? Is this something real? And it was my challenge to kind of figure out how much of it was real and how much of it could be just embellished stories.
Let's go further back then, Stephen, in your entire life. When did you first become aware of UFOs?
Well, I come out of the Spielberg 80s. So I'm a Spielberg 80s kid, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind. When I was a child, I was really into the concept of UFOs and aliens. And as I grew up, I kind of left all that behind in my childhood. And in 2003, I had an encounter. I saw a real UFO myself with my own eyes, and a strange craft, a triangle craft. If you're familiar with UFOs, it was similar to the Phoenix Lights case.
Oh, that was my next question, but finish the story first, because I lived in Arizona for 17 years.
Okay.
But finish the story first. So when you see the triangle, where are you in the world at this
Sure.
point?
So I'm in Provo, Utah. I'm standing outside of a film studio at night. I was a production assistant on a film, and just waiting for the red light, the recording light, to go off so I could go back in. And something caught my eye, and I looked up and I saw it was just these two black sticks like this. There was no body in the middle, just two black sticks flying like this. And there were blue lights on the bottom, and no sound. It didn't make a single sound, just flew right by. And it was the creepiest, it was extremely creepy encounter. And so, that got my brain going. Some of the things from my childhood are suddenly in the sky as an adult. So that definitely played a role in my current quest into the topic.
Wow. And then I'm going to get back to what we talked about earlier, but you brought in the Phoenix Lights, which I was leaving for later, but because you're bringing that, and let's discuss it now then. Now, if you've dispelled certain myths, certain UFO stories. So if the Phoenix Lights, if you could explain that, you would have done so, I imagine. You would have, discredited the theories. What is your theory presently?
Of the Phoenix Lights?
Yes.
Of the Phoenix Lights. Yeah, it's an interesting case, right? Because there were flares that night at, I want to say around 10, military flares around 10 p.m. That did happen. The only problem I have with flares is that gravity exists and flares eventually drop. And you've got so many testimonies of a thing flying through the air. And the ex-governor of Arizona, who was the governor at the time, says he saw it too. He saw a gigantic triangle fly over. So, look, these things, when you look at a lot of UFO cases, they happen within flight distance of military installations, U.S. military installations. The one I saw, really close to Hill Air Force Base in Utah. So who knows what the government is flying? It's not like we're witnessing like portals open up, like wormholes and like saucers flying out of the portals. No one's seeing things like that. I mean, so I don't know. If I had to guess, something, either military flares or some military craft or balloon, like an airship.
Have you watched it on YouTube? Because if the viewers are wondering about this, I urge the viewers to go over and watch this on YouTube. It is fascinating. The way they move, the speeds, all of a sudden how it speeds up and stuff.
Which one?
When there's like a collection of them and then they start moving at high speed.
Yeah, I don't, a collection of, well, I would just need to see the clip. I don't know which clip you're referencing.
So I'll just go on YouTube right now. Let's hope this isn't too distracting, and put in Phoenix Lights. Perhaps if the viewers are out there and they want to do this so they can see what we're talking about. Phoenix Lights.
I've never seen a Phoenix Lights video where the lights move fast. I've only seen the classic one where they're just hovering.
Okay, let me have a look. Here's the news one. Let's have a look. Phoenix Lights witness. So I've got one that I'm going to put in the chat for people. I'm going to put it in the chat for people so that everybody can watch this. Here we go. It's only a 1 minute long, and we can get your analysis of it. There you go. It's in the chat. Can you see that?
I can see it.
Right. Take a look at that then.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Old news report looks like. Oh yeah, Lynn. So here's Lynn Katai. She took a lot of the VHS video that night, and I interviewed her for my show. Yeah, these lights, these stationary lights. Yep. Those are the lights right there. And there's also another shot that she has where you can see more of the triangle shape, but they're more or less, it's a shot. The motion you're seeing there in that video is someone's moving the camera. But the classic Phoenix lights are those lights that are just hovering over the city, and they're just
Yeah,
have formed this.
don't they move off at high speed though at the end of it?
No, there is no shot of those lights. If there was, wow, I've never seen those lights move. I've only seen them hover, and like I said, there were military flares dropped that night. Now, who knows if that was it, but that was around 10 p.m. if I remember. So after the original sighting. So yeah, I mean, to me, I can't definitively say what the heck that was. You've got witness testimony describing something, and then you've got video of something in the sky. That one's still a mystery, I think, to many people.
Still unexplained to this day, isn't it? I'll put another clip in the chat for people to look at if they want to follow up on that. So, what other phenomenon are unexplained? Similar sightings that are on the top of your list that you're the most curious about?
Great. Okay, so the ones that are still a mystery to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, in the year 2000 in St. Clair, Illinois, there were sightings of a delta-shaped triangle, large, estimated 500 feet, hovering over the town. And the police show up because they're getting calls. And the audio from the police radios has been publicly released. You can listen to it. It's fascinating. You hear the police officers calling back to base. What the hell is this thing? It's huge. It's a triangle. And then the triangle zips into the horizon super fast. Boom, it's gone. And so the police call the police in the next town, and they say, hey, this thing just flew off. Look up, go look up. It might be there. And the police in that town look up, and you can hear them on the radio. Oh my God, yep, we see it too. And it's huge and whatever. This thing zips over 4 different cities. The police officers, you have evidence, you have the audio, you can hear their radio calls, and then they sketch. Each one of these police officers sketch what they saw, and it all looks the same. Black triangle that hovers without noise and then zips at light speed essentially into the horizon. That's a case that still fascinates me because debunkers have come out to say, okay, it could be military, or, there was a sports blimp, like a blimp, and there was a LED light sign at the bottom of the blimp. Maybe they saw that. And look, I can understand maybe 1 or 2 people misidentifying a blimp. But when you've got multiple people over 4 cities describing the exact same thing, you have to sit back and go, what are they looking at? Something's there. So that case right there is one of my favorites.
Yeah, because with the Phoenix Lights, then calls came in of people seeing these things, across the valley, and if this was some kind of government experiment, or it totally messed up the airspace, didn't it? I mean, the U.S. government would not put something in the sky that could possibly cause a plane crash. Is that correct? It has to be something else.
Right. Definitely. I mean, especially over a populated area, it doesn't logically make sense, but stupider things have happened, especially when it comes to the military and the U.S. government. Stupid things happen. Mistakes happen all the time. And I'm pretty sure the government and the military would prefer we not know about all their mistakes, all the mistakes that they have probably made. I mean, and I think, to bring it back to now, when you look at recent UFO reports, we have a problem, and it's not an alien problem. We have an airspace awareness problem, an airspace clutter problem. We've had near midair collisions. I mean, we're talking about potential death with random drones, balloons, commercial airliners full of people zipping by things that shouldn't be there. You have military pilots almost flying into balloon type objects, conventional drones, quadcopter drones. The sky is cluttered, and I think authorities are scrambling to catch up. It's an evolving technology. UAV drones is evolving technology, and I think places like the FAA and they're trying to keep pace. But we do have a problem. I just don't think it's necessarily an alien problem.
So with the unexplained sightings then, for example, the one you cited and the Phoenix Light, are you leaning towards human behavior, human technology versus alien technology?
Sure, why not? I mean, we all should. I mean, what as opposed to what? I mean, really, there needs to be the standards of evidence. It all comes down to standards of evidence. And while I am open to a extraterrestrial visiting Earth in some craft, there is no evidence of that. If there was evidence, you and I would not be having this conversation, because it would be out there. So I haven't seen any real evidence. And even those 3 now famous videos, those black and white videos that the U.S. Navy released, especially the one that looks like it's rotating, that video, I don't see anything otherworldly in those videos at all. The speeds, match human type craft. The maneuvers match human type craft. One of them looks like a balloon. One of them, in my opinion, is probably an unmanned aircraft, an unmanned drone. But the UFO story has kind of eclipsed the wonder and the fun and excitement of UFOs has kind of eclipsed some of these other nuanced realities.
Well, Stephen, if you look at the vast expanse of time and consider that we only exist in a speck of time and consider infinite time, do you think that there could have been visits to Earth before we existed?
I think the number of could have questions are uncountable. I think the number of times you could say, could this have happened, is infinite amount of times you could ask that question. And so could that have happened? Sure, within the realms of possibility. Sure. Have we seen evidence of that? I don't think so. If so, I'd love to see it because that's awesome. That's awesome. I'd love to see that evidence. Again, it's the lack of evidence that keeps these stories going, in my opinion.
But we only have evidence of anything going back so many thousands of years, don't we? And if we consider infinite time and how long Earth has actually existed, then there's a massive dark period, isn't it, that we don't have any evidence of anything? So anything could have happened, really.
Maybe. I mean, we can dig bones out of the ground that are literally tens of millions of years old, and from those bones reconstruct what the entire animal looked like, and we can tell what the air was and what food it ate and what it died from and all of these things. We can dig back. We have the technology to go back in history and kind of realize what early Earth was at its lava magma state. And so, I haven't seen any equal amount of evidence of some unknown civilization that lived long ago on Earth. I'd love to see that evidence. I don't know about that.
So do you just think that Earth then has just been in a stage of development going over 4.5 billion years to the present point, and we're at maximum technology now?
Maximum? No, man. I don't think we're at maximum technology now at all.
Versus, I'm just talking about maximum technology versus the past, not the future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think what, traditional scholastic timelines of Earth look like, I'm more aligned with that. I think that's the way that it was. I mean, the Goldilocks zone, when you look at how rare life on this planet is, when you look at like a few degrees closer to the sun equals no life, a few degrees further from the sun equals no life. It's just this perfect soup. So I just think it's it's just a miracle of randomness.
And it should make everyone appreciate the infinite improbability of their own existence. You are a miracle. We're all miracles, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right, so in the future, then, will we be able to have technology that will take us to other planets?
Yeah, I would think so. In fact, if I had to, we should already have that technology. We're weird humans. There's something very terrestrial about we don't like change, and we don't like things that are new, and we don't like leaving comfort zones. And Earth right now is pretty comfortable to us. And I don't, there's something about human nature where we just want to like stay in our cave. And so while the technology, in my opinion, should already exist for that potential, I just don't think humanity is there kind of spiritually and mentally and naturally. And perhaps that's not technology that gets us off the planet. Maybe it's something else. It's a mindset that gets us off the planet.
So your research has led you into military applications, drones, and
Yeah.
some of the things we've not talked about yet are adversary drones, the UFO swarm over the US Navy off California, and China, cowpens incident, rising tension in the Pacific.
Yes.
Can we go over some of those and the Mexican cartel as well?
Sure. So there's a story. You guys, I see you guys have messaged it. Tyler Rogaway wrote this story for the War Zone called "Adversary Drones Are Spying on the U.S. and the Pentagon Thinks They're UFOs." There is growing evidence that a lot of these current modern UFO cases could be a China or a Russia or some other adversary breaking over U.S. airspace, over sensitive nuclear facilities, over sensitive military facilities, and spying on us. And, normally news like that would cause outrage in the public. I mean, if the public found out that China was zipping over U.S. airspace with impunity, but because these stories are presented as UFOs, the public goes, whoa, that's cool. There's like it deflates, I think, a little bit of the potential outrage. But a recent example is in 2019, a swarm of unknown aerial objects swarmed a Navy fleet, the U.S. Navy fleet, off the coast of California, really close to California, over multiple days, over multiple weeks.
Wow.
Now, the first story to come out was UFOs. Jeremy Corbell went on Fox News it's a green triangle video, if you guys have seen, and it became this pyramid. This green alien pyramid is flying over the Navy. And for years, this was a UFO story. Now, the real people, the journalists like myself and Adam Kehoe and Mark Zuccotti, Tyler Rogaway at the War Zone, they dug into the documents. They got the Navy deck logs. They got Navy FOIA presentations. And it became very apparent these were actually drones that were buzzing our Navy, harassing the U.S. Navy. And these were drones with propellers, large. It was described maybe 6 feet with, quadcopter type, but definitely higher tech. And what the hell's going on? Who's doing that to our Navy? It's not aliens. Aliens aren't flying like quadcopters, Maybe they are, but it very terrestrial, prosaic type objects, it appears. And could this be China right off the California coast, sticking a middle finger to the U.S. Navy? Now, what happened just a few days ago? China just declared they don't consider Taiwan, the waters around Taiwan, international waters, which is unprecedented. Basically, they're like, you're not allowed to sail through here anymore. They just like blanket say anyone in the world is allowed to sail through there. And China just a few days ago was like, no, not anymore. You're not. And I don't think people realize how much of a tinderbox the Pacific is, and just how the tensions have been rising with China. And I believe that we're in a warm war with China, not a cold and not a hot war, but right in the middle. And at any moment, something could happen. And I think if that was China buzzing our Navy off the coast of California, the geopolitical fallout from that news, confirmation it's China, I think could escalate things to a very warlike conversation. And I don't think the Pentagon and a lot of people want that. They want diplomacy. They want to talk this out. And that makes sense to me. And so, when this story becomes UFOs, it's like it creates a wonder with the public and an awe and wow. And it deflates in a weird way. It deflates a potential geopolitical hazard.
That's interesting. So, I'm familiar with the Mexican cartels and stuff. High-tech drones at the Mexican border. I imagine that's on the increase.
Yeah. So a lot of cases recently, there have been at least two within the last 2 years where Border Patrol helicopters, Department of Homeland Security aircraft have encountered while they're flying at the border these wild quadcopter type drones, but bigger. And literally the drones are just zipping around the helicopters. The helicopters can't catch up to them. They're chasing these things. And you can hear the audio has been publicly released. You can hear them going like, we don't know what the hell this thing is. It's fast, but they describe it as quadcopter-esque. And when you dig into the history recently, the number one importer of fentanyl to the United States comes from China via Mexico. One of the biggest fentanyl busts in American history happened in Arizona just recently. And right at that spot is where they encountered the Border Patrol encountered this crazy drone. And so my current theory is that these are intel drones looking for weaknesses at the border in order to continue either a smuggling run or, some kind of drug smuggling thing. And I think China plays a role in that also.
Absolutely fascinating. Huge thank you for coming on. Can you tell the viewers, Stephen, where they can find you on all your socials?
Sure. So I'm at Twitter at Middle of Mayhem, or you can watch my New York Post series, The Basement Office, at youtube.com/NYPost.
All right, you take care, my friend. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.